Hey NC Deca, what's good? It's your Team 77 MVP and Team 78 State President, Ava Shepard, and I'm here to tell y'all a lot bit about running for state office and what that process looks like. Let's get it. I have run twice, but one of those times was during virtual CDC, so that was a little wonky. So step 0 is going to be going to that state officer interest call, which usually happens around mid-December every term, and my year's already had ours. But it's a great way to get your name out there, learn some more about your opponents, what other schools are represented, and get any questions that you have answered. So I can't recommend that enough if you're watching this in a future year. You can run for 2 roles on the state action team, state president or regional vice president. Depending on where you live and go to school will decide which region you'd be representing as a regional vice president, but anyone from anywhere in the state can run for state president. The process to win looks identical, and the differences really only start after you're inducted. State president definitely has a more hands-off role, with less chapter visits and helping out advisors, and more coming up with big picture ideas and delegating to your regional vice presidents. As a regional vice president, you're going to be doing chapter visits, MCECs, and a lot more of that hands-on work with advisors and members to make sure they have the best year possible. Unfortunately, only 2 members from each school can run for the state action team in a single year. 1 for president and 1 for regional vice president. Step 1 is your application. The application may seem a little bit daunting the first time you open it, but trust me, its bark is worse than its bite. It's basically just asking you for some basics. What have you done as a Deca member? What have you done as a student, as a member of your community? And all you can do is highlight the best things about yourself and really just be honest and authentic in communicating what would make you an amazing state officer and what makes you an already great member and student. Reminder, you'll also need a copy of your transcript and a signed form from a school administrator and parents certifying that they're okay with you running and fulfilling your duties as a state officer, which can be a lot. There are only 3 requirements to run for state office: an unweighted GPA of 3.0 or higher, a good standing with North Carolina Deca, and be a current sophomore, junior, or senior in high school. Sorry, freshmen. With this application, you'll also submit a 75-word essay on why you think you'd be the perfect addition to the North Carolina tradition of excellence, and an electronic picture. Do not take the electronic picture lightly. Everybody at state conference will see it everywhere. So make sure you're in your best professional dress and looking spiffy for that. Also, word of advice on the application: make sure there's no typos, grammatical errors, or anything like that, because that's a very bad way to lose points on there. Trust me, it's okay. Not everybody can fill up all those boxes. It's quite a lot, and you'll do just fine even if you feel like it's not quite enough, because there's also a section about community involvement, an essay, and the application is only worth 25% of your entire score to win. So if your application isn't quite where you want it to be just yet, don't worry too much about it and just do your best on the rest of the process. And there's no harm in putting things on the application that you think they might not have heard of, like a school-specific club, a spirit club, honor society, anything like that. Sports, whatever you think qualifies counts. And who knows, you could get some points out of it. Also, if you're brand new to Deca, like I felt like I was my sophomore year, local means chapter activities, chapter community service, chapter office, anything like that. District is going to be that MCEC level. So winning medals there, winning glass there, any kind of recognition at your regional level. And then state and international speak for themselves. Step 2 is my personal favorite, and that is the North Carolina Deca State Officer Exam. It is 50 questions, but don't sweat it. You'll do just fine as long as you study up on the history of Deca, the current state action team, our sponsors, everything, just basic Deca information. Dues, fees, other CTSOs, you'll do just fine on it. That being said, looking at a Quizlet on the bus ride to state conference probably won't cut it. Step 3, the dreaded interview. Okay, that was a little dramatic, but I definitely remember the interview being the part that I was the most worried for when I first ran. So this interview may seem like it's going to be a dog, but there are plenty of reasons that it's going to be your best friend in terms of maximizing your points. Number 1, it's just a bunch of your Deca peers. It's no scary teachers or advisors grilling you. It's just other Deca members who are there and want to see you succeed. Number 2, every single question is available ahead of time. So that means you can prepare for everything. You can memorize a script for every answer, although I don't recommend sounding scripted. That's part of the rubric. Number 3, there's a rubric. You can check it out ahead of time as well. All of these resources being available before you even step into the Corey Convention Center means that you can prepare for all of them, but it also means there's no excuse for completely fumbling the bag when you hear a question that you should have been looking at for months. And if you know one of those interviewers wasn't really feeling your stuff, fear not, because the highest and lowest scores out of the 10 interviewees are completely dropped, so it's just an average of the middle 8 scores. Like I mentioned before, the application is only 25% of your total score. Newsflash, it's all only 25% of your score. Step 3. Ah yes, the vote. Time to finally put all those Deca marketing skills to use and market yourself to all the voting delegates. Notice that I said voting delegates because those are the only people who are going to be voting on you. While chapters may powwow and decide who the candidate that they're going to cast their vote for is, your best bet is to focus your energy on people with a little ribbon on the bottom of their name tag that says voting delegate, because they're the ones in the end that are making the final decision. When I, a naive sophomore, went to state conference a la 2020, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was not expecting to come home on Saturday with no voice.
3 days of campaigning really makes your voice not work.
And having consumed an ungodly amount of caffeine. But I had secured that win, and so it was all worth it. The first part of this big old sway in the public, getting those voting delegates on your side, is the impromptu question. All right, so the deal with this is it doesn't count for any points. I may or may not have said that my favorite weird food combination was...
What is your favorite unusual food combination?
Okay, this is a weird one, but I really like Cheez-Its with Nutella.
Something Team 77 hasn't let me live down to this very day, but there's also a serious question to go along with that silly kind of random one that will catch you off guard and will make you feel like you're having heart palpitations. That silly question can be, who's your favorite Sesame Street character? What flavor of ice cream would you be? What would you name your band if you had one? And trust me, it makes for some quality entertainment. Now comes the fun part, campaigning. So strap your chapter up with these buttons and only your chapter. Don't give buttons or anything like that to anybody from any other schools. You could get in big trouble for that. Make your social media posts, get them reposted by NC Deca, anything like that, and get your name out there. And by getting your name out there, typically that means waking up with the sun, going to the Corey Convention Center, and talking to anybody that will listen to you for the entire conference. Pitting people in elevators, talking to people in competition lines, just reciting your stump speech to any pair of ears that is willing to hear it. This canvassing takes a more formal role at the officer candidate meet and greet. This is important. You want to be there looking your best and caffeinated because everybody wants to talk to you and you want everybody to listen. And so that means every voting delegate and every officer candidate is just in one big open space and you are just getting that last minute swing. Just anybody that you can convince is just points you're taking away from your opponent. And mind you, this happens directly before they walk into that room and cast their vote. So this is your last chance to make a big impression. Don't be late. Something a lot of people don't know about running for state office is what an essential role you'll be playing in the operations of state conference as a whole. You'll be helping out the state action team with rehearsals and setup for the conference and sessions, and you'll even get to attend the State Officer Appreciation Luncheon, which is just a really fun, bougie lunch with all the other candidates, and you get to watch a bunch of parents cry, which is special. Speaking of this whole campaigning thing, a lot of people create Instagrams specifically dedicated to their Deca activities. They're not necessarily required, and I've never made one for myself, and I haven't really had any problems with it. An important part of that campaign, especially virtually, is coming up with a theme. It may seem a little bit goofy, but everybody has a hashtag. My first one was hashtag #ShepWillRep. My second one for my second time running was hashtag #StickWithShep. We've had some fun historical ones like hashtag Andrew Fro President. He had an afro. Hashtag Jen for the win. The more it rhymes, the better. I'll preface this with small chapter pride. My high school Providence has a very small Deca chapter. However, the larger the chapter, the more delegates they have. So if you can get a huge school like Ardrey Kell, Myers Park, Marvin Ridge on your side, the more delegates you're securing by doing that. So don't by any means ignore small chapters because every single vote counts, but it's just a good thing to know that the more membership a chapter has, the more associated delegates they're bringing with them. Running for state office has been an immensely rewarding and educational experience for me. I got to connect with people across the entire state just through campaigning and running. It was truly amazing. I was not expecting to win when I ran my sophomore year. My application was scarce. I didn't hardly know anything about Deca. I'd only been to one state conference before, but I stuck my neck out and oh boy, am I so glad that I did. Lots of people run sophomore year simply to arm themselves with the experience so that they can come back and dominate their junior year. Don't be afraid to do that. Stick your neck out. Run for state office. You never know what could happen, and in my case, it ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made. Good luck, guys, and please reach out to me if you have any questions, and thank you so much to Andrew Weatherman's Medium article, Hitchhiker's Guide to Running for North Carolina Deca State Office, which is an amazing resource, and you should go read it right now. It was my lifeline when I ran my first 2 times, and I'm simply expanding upon his resource with this video. Anyways, good luck to all of you campaigning, and remember, don't say you're an official candidate until you get that certificate, or I will have to DM you on Instagram, and it's very embarrassing.
What's up, NC Deca? My name is Ava Shepard, and I'm here to teach y'all a lesson about my Deca obsession. It's my profession, and I'll prove it in opening session.